Welcome back to the Cal Zone. My name is Ben. We are missing Cal this time, but Brian Brady's back with us. It's always fun to talk about deals, right? And
Yeah.
most agents call them wins, or whatever you want to call them. But they're at the end of the day, I think they're all like learning experiences, right? Especially maybe deals we haven't done or deals that are going down differently. But I think to kind of start this specific conversation out, can you kind of describe the difference between like a condo and a townhome when you're talking about financing?
Yeah. So there when you look it up, look up a property in the MLS or on Zillow, it's not going to always tell you if it's a condo or a townhome, especially in the MLS because they just list it condo/townhome. But there is a really big difference, right? Like with a condo, you are buying a shared ownership in the entire property. So you're not buying the parcel that your condo is on.
Airspace, right?
Yeah. You get a 1 in 200 share of the entire complex. And so then you'll get a walls in policy. But, you know, when we talk about the reasoning that it's so much more difficult for a condo versus a townhome, with a condo, because you have that shared ownership, we have to qualify you, the borrower, but we also have to qualify the condo. The HOA, we have to go through all of their documents and make sure that there's no risk to the borrower or risk to the
Yeah,
lender.
because you have 1 and X share of the risk as well, right?
Exactly. So if there's, any legal proceedings that are going on, and occupancy concerns, like it's going to prevent people from purchasing in there. So that's why we have to go through and on a condo, it's okay, we think it's good. And usually we'll talk to escrow or title and get, like a tax roll to kind of run through everything. But if the condo complex doesn't qualify or is, the condo would be unwarrantable because of XYZ, anything that's going on in that complex.
And so, what are the top like bullet points of what you as the lender are looking for to qualify that condo?
So the first thing we're going to look at every time is occupancy. Right? How many people are living there as their primary residence, and that's tough. A lot of places don't track it.
And long-term rent doesn't qualify. You're actually looking for owner-occupied.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you're looking at owner occupied, you look at the tax roll and you say, okay, how many people have this as their mailing address, right? Because then they're living there. And then the next biggest thing that we're looking at is if there's any litigation going on. If there's anything, like a big leaky pool or, any construction defects that affect the entire property, because those are all going to have to get fixed, and that's going to take money. And, so the litigation one, you don't see it quite as often, but you still see it. So, all that being said, when you talk about a townhome, it is completely the opposite. It's just like buying a stick-built single-family home. You own the property. We don't have to qualify the HOA at all. So it cuts down a lot of the hassle on the lender's end, but also on your end as the buyer, because you don't know if you're actually, like, you might fall in love with a condo and then you go to purchase and it's like, actually, it doesn't qualify because there's litigation going on or, anything else. So
What prompted this conversation is one of the deals that we just had was a condo deal that was in fact unwarrantable.
yeah.
And it's not listed as unwarrantable. It's something that you as the lender or the bank or Fannie and Freddie deem as something, it's checked X, Y, and Z box, so therefore it's unwarrantable.
Yep.
And I'm not going to disclose the name of the condo complex, but, speaking of leaky pools and, structural issues, it qualified for those. And
it definitely did.
And, there actually is no litigation pending, right? There's it could in the future.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting deal because, we had a buyer that qualified, didn't care about, the structural defects, what the HOA was going through, didn't even really want to use the pool, just wanted a 1-bedroom, that with a low payment. The condo was $200,000, and in the 11th hour find out that we can't close the deal with the loan.
There's no way to make that work.
Yeah. So we got creative, which is a pretty, we should probably do a whole separate video on why I think seller financing is so cool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for everybody, right? You have to own
It's
the
a
property
very
outright,
specific,
or you have to not want the cash immediately, right? There's certain things that are going to qualify you as a seller to seller finance something. But we rewrote the deal as a seller finance and said, hey, we really have no other options. So if you guys want to sell it, like this is kind of what we're looking at, and we were able to get the guy into the condo,
which is awesome because 99% of people would just be like, sorry,
Yeah, and now, like I said, I'm not going to name the complex, but there's probably 30 or 40 units that are for sale in that complex right now.
Yeah.
And, I feel bad, right? Because those guys, may not even know what's going on within the complex and why they're not selling, why they're not moving. Yeah. And I even heard, I don't know, I have to do some more research into this, but I also heard that Fannie and Freddie are cracking down more and more on condos for that specific reason.
Yeah, I believe it. And honestly, it's one of the biggest risks that you're taking when you purchase a condo is that resale risk, right? Like, am I going to actually be able to sell this for what it's worth? Mm-hmm. Or is there going to be something that's going on that makes me do something like take a seller financing deal, or it limits my buyer pool to the point where I have to take less money than I could have otherwise gotten. Yeah. So yeah, good on you guys though.
So condos can be a great deal. It sounds like townhomes are a little bit safer, but do some research, maybe give us a call.
Yeah.